I want to see whether SK want to bust that kind of thing back out. But we are into picks and bans. That's no surprise. Selfie is now getting himself the Lissandra. Has had that a couple of games and also banned away from him from low priority as well yesterday or Sunday. We take one break day and everything kind of merges
you want to
together.
say yesterday, last broadcast, previous broadcast, not quite yesterday. We don't know what he picked or banned yesterday in his solo queue games. Of course, with Lissandra and Ryze taken off the table, that is once again some mid lane priority, maybe some top lane priority, depending on how they want to flex it. But Maokai going to be the next ban to come out. Of course, if you're just joining us, SK Gaming on the blue side and Misfits on the red. The Gnar taken away from Ruin. One of his playmaking champions, I think, maybe a good choice here coming in for the Misfits.
And the Maokai being taken away from Alphari. He had that game where he was just like unkillable, had 5 items when everybody else had 3 and just stood there and was like, try and kill me.
20 seconds for his team, I think, at one point. Oh, man. I mean, the man,
kind of crazy.
Yeah, very strong champion overall. Kindred also seeing some hits on 6-9. Of course, for that early Dance of Arrows cooldown.
And I like this. Says is one of the newer players on SK when you look at it, less experience. So say, well, let's not give them a bullying jungle pick.
Yeah.
So Nidalee is still available should it come to it, but certainly they've got the option now to kind of put Misfits on a pick that maybe doesn't work quite so well for them. Graves is still up as well, so it depends on the last ban. Wow, Tarek actually drew a ban.
I don't know if I'm surprised. This is the second Tarek ban that SK has seen since the first game where they did get their hands on it. Still not a champion that we know a whole ton about.
Ruin must have watched Mouse's game yesterday.
Yeah,
Sunday with the Nunu
performance.
Yeah, so are we looking jungle pick potentially here is the Nidalee or the Graves that we could go for, or is it top lane that they're going to go with the Gnar, the Maokai off?
It is going to be that Nidalee jungle picked up, and this has been absolutely an insanely strong pick in so many different games. Although mostly banned out, actually. I think today is really the first time that we've seen it be let through so easily and picked
Red side, though, we're going to flex the Trundle, pick the Lucian. It's the same thing we saw in the last game. Multiple games. Answer from SK is probably going to be the Ezreal that we've seen them play a couple of times.
Mordekaiser jungle?
You could, I guess.
That's the worst part. At 6'10", you're like, I don't actually know if that's viable.
They could do.
They might actually do that. No, probably not. Focusing back in on the picks so far, though, it seems like this is becoming a pretty standard trade. Lucian, absolutely a power pick. I feel like he's hasn't always had that status, but now considered one of the must-pick champions here in Champion Select. And trading it for Nidalee, giving this over to EUCS, do you think this is the right choice to put the priority on the bot lane?
I think it is, actually. I feel like for Misfits, if this ends up in a 2 versus 2, then you look at the Lucian, the potential for it to actually keep Vardags down. That's always been a key to beating this SK lineup, is keep the bottom lane down. Do not let them really get into the game.
Yeah. Well, of course, opposite side picks coming in. Suno, he's shown us a pretty impressive Azir performance in that first game. When we get so excited to talk about Tarakin. So busting it out once again here. Echo also going to be the pickup, this time put into the hands of Ruin. This is going to be his first Echo game that we have seen coming out in the Challenger Series qualifiers. So a lot of question marks left. And Selfie, he's seen how the Vladimir Azir matchup works out. I may be opting for it again? Nah.
I don't know. We'll see. As Lissandra's off the table, I want to talk about that Echo. Somewhat similar to the Gnar. Obviously doesn't have quite the dominance over the ranged into
like
melee
Maokai,
matchup if it ends up like that. Still good. Still has that lockdown in team fights, parallel convergence. Still has damage coming out from it. So certainly not too dissimilar a champion for Rune. We'll see what he can get done on that. And this is Azir. Very rare that Azir has been available in this tournament. 4 games total, and I think only 3 games total up until now and only had 1 win.
This is going to be the Vladimir and the Graves as well. So Wisdom picking up the Graves for himself. Strong jungler, no questions there, right? This is standard. This is what we expect. But the Vladimir coming in potentially for the mid lane. We haven't seen it as a flex pick yet. And I'm really surprised that this is not a Victor coming in.
Yeah, actually, into the Azir. You are correct. They've picked something, though, that will be able to kind of avoid a lot of the damage that Azir is going to have, and not only that, have presence on the team fights. I mean, we saw what Kassadai in, early on in the tournament had
just
from that
people.
flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty funny to watch, to be honest. It wasn't exactly the best result of a game, but certainly we'll see if Selfie can land that multi-person Hemo Plague, Tides of Blood, that kind of thing. Get it all locking down, see how the damage comes out. What have SK got for us for their bot lane?
Hovering over. The Braum will get locked in, as will the Ezreal. So some pretty standard picks here coming out. Ezreal rising in popularity. Not quite Lucian level yet, but very always safe, always relevant, it feels like.
Still good. Yeah, you can always play the more passive laning phase, scale up a little bit more, get the levels and you get the items, and have a bit more of an effect later on in the game. So we'll see how this 2v2 ends up going if we end up in standard lanes. Now we get the age-old question, the answer to it. Is Trundle getting flexed bot lane into the support role, or is he going to be top?
And the brand new question, where does Vladimir go? Which I think is
going to be mid.
Okay.
It's going to be mid.
It doesn't seem like you can fight with an Echo.
I mean, some people tried it top lane ever since the rework. I don't really buy into it. You don't really have a whole lot of presence up until you've got good levels in your abilities and you actually start hurting people with the second Q, like the empowered one.
Yeah. So let's see. Looks like it is going to be the Poppy finally picked up. Most likely going to the top lane as Trundle will once again be flexed into the support position. So Poppy Echo, a matchup. The 6-8 matchup that we saw just about, not every game, but pretty frequently. Most games.
It was this or Maokai.
Yeah. Depending on which of these three top laners were banned.
The MSI patch. Woo! But no range supports.
No, interestingly enough.
Seen
something we didn't really talk as much about the broadcast is obviously the changes to Grievous Wounds make it a little bit harder to bust out that Soraka.
A bit. No Soraka in this game. It is Trundle and Braum that are in the support roles. So for Misfits, they have a very kind of different style now with this Vladimir mixed in. Same as what Misfits have been playing, but without a lot of the crowd control that they had. Outside of the Poppy and the Trundle, they actually have very low crowd control to actually engage fights. But you've got the Hemo Plague, you've got the damage that comes from Lucian, the Graves on top of it. So for Misfits, they have damage if they can get to fights. Problem is, against SK, you look at it, they got the Braum to disengage, Azir to disengage, Ezreal can jump away, Echo can jump away, and zone an area on the floor.
And Nidalee's got so much mobility too, and it feels like this team is just, it's got so much poke damage.
This is the catch me if you can team. And unfortunately, there's nothing like an Alistair on the side of Misfits to actually get that. Poppy's really their only form of engage.
And maybe not the most ideal setup, but I think at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to who can execute better once again, because there is some power on both of these teams, but SK, we've seen them do well in late game team fights with the Azir. That's not a question mark, right? We know that works for them. Vladimir, on the other hand,
I love this. I love this. This is the I don't need crowd control setup. This is the I'm going to take Storm Riders because my E is going to do that much damage to somebody, plus Ghost, plus Flash. For the I'm going to run at you, and you're going to try and run away, and I'm going to follow you.
Yeah, because you said they don't have any engage. Who needs engage?
Yeah, who needs engage? You just run through them.
CC overrated. Just be faster than them. Maybe this is the first game where we see Cloud Drake priority.
Maybe. Oh, man. No, because it's out of combat move speed. So as soon as you hit E, it'll get you there.
Yeah, but Vladimir kind of has problems getting there with the flanks. Not always Vladimir's issue. It's sticking around.
Ghost, has 3 builds mobility boots. As soon as he gets into combat, is completely slow again.
Starts boots in the mid lane with a refillable potion.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't too many items that you can start on Vlad that aren't boots. When you look at it, Doran's shield's kind of meh. Doran's ring, nope. Doran's blade, if you want to be annoying and have no pots, and just
works
boots
for
boots is the way. Boots is the way, man.
Yep. Looks like the new. We'll see if it's the meta start. This is only our second Vladimir game here. Looking up, looks like we will have the lane swap coming out, although SK are in a position to match.
Turns out, though, there is not only 3 starting items in League of Legends. You got other ones coming out here. We've got many others with the corrupting potions as well. So lots of different options. And you can see Boots old school with that refillable pot. I'm happy about it. But old school through the top side. Dreams.
This is not a fight you want. No. Italy level 1. Ezreal coming over the wall. Dreams. Oh, buddy, you got a flash. The Ignite, it's giving line of sight, though. He's trying to use the blue to block the spear. She's throwing it past. It's not going to hit. And Dreams just has to walk his way out of that jungle.
Dreams actually got out of there. I am so surprised that SK didn't all in there to get the kill. After using Ignite, he was 160, 170 health. And they let him walk through blue buff. All you got to do is even aggro the blue, because he's going to do the damage for you.
Maybe a bit of a fumble. I mean, SK still coming out on top. Of course, do trade the flash for the ignite.
Yeah,
arguably
fair.
the more valuable cooldown. Will be up sooner, but yeah, maybe a first blood opportunity there. Missed out. SK opting to hold on to these flashes, I guess. Selfie starting to trade in the mid lane. Things even across the map now as the lanes have split. Although Echo pushing pretty aggressively. You can see 10 CS now finally balancing out as that wave crashes into Poppy's tower.
Oh, Selfie desperately wants that minion that's taunting him in the middle. It's on one hit. But as we'll see as the game goes on, remember, Spell Vamp was removed, so Selfie, his kit's kind of been adjusted to give him a little bit more return on some of his abilities. There were hot fixes that went through as well. Tides of Blood comes out. Takes a lot of damage in exchange for it, though. So Selfie, in these early levels, really can't afford to use a whole bunch of his abilities to actually, like that on the Tides of Blood on the wave. He has to kind of just last hit with the Q, get the extra health back, and...
yeah, just play the passive laning phase, it feels like. Wait till he has more of those levels like you were talking about in Champ Select, as we discussed. You just need a little bit more time to scale up, right?
You do.
Interesting, though. You can see trading. The tank fight, it keeps going. Ruin, pretty comfortable in this matchup, actually. His Echo kind of a question mark. But doing well thus far. Laning phase even. Yuki getting aggressive. Vardag's not dishing out a ton of damage. Suno may have to burn some mobility. Oh, actually has the flash out there.
Did he not have his combo?
He must not have had shifting sands.
Weird.
There's... We'll check on it. He actually took the second point in conquering sands instead of opting for the safe route.
Oh man, that's punishing.
And you can see he finally hits level 4. He is going to get that point, but that is massively punishing.
That's somewhat greedy at the same time.
Yeah, I mean insanely greedy. It punished because, in fact, he was a little bit greedy. I guess wanting to do more damage, wanting to trade, but this is the cost. Suno, your hubris getting the best of you. See Selfie getting aggressive. He's ready. He wants to get that extra healing. He's going to use the empowered Q. Wisdom now moving into the top side. This could be our first big fight. Pillar yet to be cast. Braum blocking out what damage he can. Stand behind me, he says. Actually going to use it to take himself to safety. Moving back. Vardags, he is under the tower. Misfits not going to pursue. Waiting kind of with bated breath there to see what would happen.
Yeah, decent damage. Flash was burned there from Unlimited. TP coming in bottom lane, but it's just Echo returning to lane. Ruin just... Oh, that was so close to finishing the recall.
Oh, I feel for you, Graves.
We'll see whether Alfari uses his TP to return to lane or whether he runs back. Selfie, well, I mean, you know Azir's not going to ignite, but here comes in Italy.
Ooh! Great timing on that pool, just barely dodging the spear. We'll have the empowered Q. That is some fat healing, of course. Increases with his missing health, so...
Not only that, but the damage. 3 points in Q. Or, I mean, you would expect 3 points in Q, but...
Yeah, I mean, not going to go
I just mean that,
much of anywhere else, but...
That was a lot of damage.
Yeah, you can see the power of Vlad. Crimson Rush, of course, when you proc those 2 Qs, the third one on that transfusion is going to deal extra damage and offer extra healing. So pretty much everything you want if you're a low-health Vladimir trying to get away from a gank.
So we got the answer to the question of Alfari CP. Did TP bot lane. And Ruin going for the the build that we saw very commonly at MSI when looking at this matchup, where you go Dark Seal because it doesn't really matter because it gives you that potions increase and you kind of just leave it on Dark Seal for a while.
It's 350 and you sell it for 200, so it's 150 gold investment to get 25% more out of your potions on top of everything else it gives you. So
and you can stack AP for a while, and then you normally don't turn it into Medjay. Some people do. So some Korean top laners actually doing that when they were like smashing games.
Yeah, I think we're not going to see a game quite so one-sided that you would bust out the Medjay. But that is the dream. The Echo dream. Built as a laning item. Actually sells for 245 too, so just ridiculously efficient if you can get some benefit out of those stats. And Selfie, as he's getting those levels, just looking more and more comfortable in this mid lane. Has not opted to back yet. I guess Boots giving him everything he needs at this stage of the game.
So Ocean Drake is the first one. Neither team has their bottom lane on the bottom side, so not really being taken anytime soon. We'll see if any team does prioritize it. So unfortunately, we're not going to see the flock of Cloud Drakes right now. Ooh, Selfie.
Oh, Selfie.
He is getting bullied out pretty hard when it comes to the health. But look at the effect it's had now. He's trading his health in exchange for extra CS. Look at it, 55 to 45. It's a significant lead for Selfie this early on.
And he's sat in lane. He's just been here. He knows. He can go back and buy items, but at the end of the day, I imagine he's not going to come out on top in trades. He just wants the CS.
A lot of it is because he knows Suno's not going to go any further up the lane than he is right now. Like, this is the furthest Suno's going to be because otherwise he gets ganked with Flash. And as I say that, Suno is pushing up, and you can see on the minimap, Selfie is pinging him out to say, look how greedily this Azir is playing.
Yeah.
Oh, Selfie.
There's a Trundle coming in too. Selfie getting really low. Dream's coming in. Graves is on the way. Selfie's so low. Suno not going to look to turn this one quite yet. Selfie will have that increased healing. Crimson Rush not coming out unlimited here as well. It's a party in the mid lane. Ward goes down. Spear not going to land. Stacking up on those concussive blows. They're just going to walk out though. So lots of aggressive attempts across the map, but at the end of the day, nothing actually coming of it.
Yeah, Selfie was so concerned at that point. Ooh, Vardax.
Oh my gosh, Vardax
full channel
back. Yuki moving forward. Flash heal, exchange for the flash there. Beautiful culling from Yuki.
Really nice culling at that point. Full channel, even on that awkward angle to try and get it out of both guns. As you know, that ability actually you can only get hit by half of it sometimes because they actually fire alternately. They have a very slightly different hitbox. Yeah.
So can you, like, in theory, kill two people at the same time if they're, like, just on the edge of each bullet?
I don't know. That would have to be very precise.
And you'd have to be very fed, so kind of difficult to test.
Oh dear. Well, SK have decided that it doesn't matter about having their bot lane here. They've got the presence with Ruin having pushed out bottom lane.
Yeah, and Ocean Drake going to make these landing phases that much more comfortable. Going to make it nice for Nidalee when she decides to roam. Of course, you have to be out of combat now to get that healing and regeneration. But if you happen to be an Ezreal and Braum getting pushed in here or having the lane frozen against you, you will get to heal up. I think the Q has to hit something for it to count as you being in combat. So Ezreal will still get the regeneration here momentarily. And they're actually chasing Wisdom down.
Chasing him down, he is going to be able to get out of there pretty easily, though.
Overall, once again, passive play, neither team taking a tower. Any major objectives? The one dragon going down to SK.
So, just somebody will give me the heads up on this if this is wrong. The tooltip says if you're not damaged by champions within 8 seconds. So it's actually not in combat. So you can deal as much damage to the enemy as you want, I believe, and Ocean Drake will still be in effect.
Ooh.
That's at least what the exact wording on the tooltip
which is probably true, which means that this Nidalee is going to be regenerating constantly. Like, she already clears with perfect health. Now she can clear with perfect mana. Oh, there's the play. Selfie getting back. Pool's going to come out. Are they going to dive here? Hemo Plague goes down. 10% increased damage, but just to trade a spell, Selfie doesn't even burn Flash.
And doesn't even feel like he needs damage. Because his items are like, well, I'm just going to get the extra healing back and stay here forever.
And of course, we have to remember that the Crimson Pact, Vladimir's passive, might see a gank come out here, does now benefit building health a little bit more.
Yeah, and Vlad has always got that, you know, that thing where it's like health into mana, health into AP, AP into health.
Yep.
Always nice to have.
Yeah. So we'll get a little bit of damage after building tanky, but interesting build. Of course, Selfie pretty much defining the meta for us on this, although the gank is coming in. Vardax in trouble. We know he has no flash. We know he has no heal, but the TP coming in, trying to keep this one safe. TP is responded to. Dreams tanking up the tower. 4 stack of concussive blows. Moving in, looking for the knockback onto the Braum. First blood. Dropping for SK. Ruin's hungry for more. Low health bars, parallel convergence. The execution passive coming in. Nidalee over the wall, sneaks in, and they're going to grab another kill. Ruin moving forward. Triple kill coming in for SK. 3 for 0, and a beautiful turnaround.
Really nice from SK under their own turret. Misfits attempting to at least pick up the early kills. They thought perhaps they had one. Alfari even got one of the higher health targets out of the fight. I believe he got unlimited all the way back, and it just was not enough. SK just had too much damage. Ruin appeared and managed to get that third proc down onto Wisdom, take him out as Wisdom was trying to kind of circle around the fight. And from that, SK, they're going to look for the Rift Herald. That means they've not only got the first dragon of the game, they've also got the Rift Herald of the game at 11 minutes in. And this is the fight.
Everything going in their favor.
Coming in from the side with Wisdom, but the answer, Nidalee is still in the lane, still not even there. In came the TP from the base from Echo, and Poppy arrives at roughly the same time for this, but Yuki was so far into this fight, so much damage already put down on him by Vardax and the rest, that it's a very easy fight once the damage is gone.
And Ruin stunned 3 people with that parallel convergence. I mean, everything really came together for SK there, and I gotta say, this is It feels so dangerous to dive those towers, and Misfits just did not have the right setup.
Yeah, they didn't. Ruin, as he TP'd in, as you said, multiple person stun. It was Dreams he actually got that third proc on, not Wisdom. Wisdom was finished off by Cesar at the end of all things. And we spoke a little bit coming into this about how Cesar would do, depending on how the jungle matchup. Remember, they banned the Kindred, didn't want Wisdom to get his hands on that. Did get the Graves, still a strong damage-based jungler, but Cesar's been doing a good job on this Nidalee right now. 1-0-1.
And praising him now for playing cautiously. Throws down the ward, doesn't want to tango with the Graves, sees him, immediately leaves. He has the itemization advantage. He still doesn't want to risk the fight. Knows better than to tango there. Selfie. He wants this. He's not going to get it.
The thing for SK, though, is their AD carry alone, AD carry and mid lane, are still behind. We kind of expected Selfie to be able to do a decent job against Suno, and we were questioning what Suno would be able to do. Turns out this matchup for Suno doesn't tend to be a favorable one, regardless of how...
He just can't trade effectively at this point. We're seeing it now. I mean, the power of Spear Visage in this mid lane, giving Vladimir damage as well as tanky stats, and Azir just trying to build what little damage he can. Of course, the bigger CS differential you talked about bot lane. See Nidalee actually potentially getting caught out here. Caesar running for trouble. Just called him Caesar, and he's just going to get burned down. Unlimited trying to disengage, but that's just going to be the quick, coordinated kill pickup. Yuki not going to go over the wall, and Misfits, they're getting something back, and they've already got the CS lead.
You saying Caesar?
I just said
reminds
Caesar
me of the
accident,
Pokemon, and that instantly takes my mind to Smash Melee, where I remember you used to jump around the screen and be super annoying.
I died to Caesar all the time.
Speaking of being super annoying right now, Wisdom.
He tries to steal the second blue buff, but he may have bit off more than he could chew. Yeah, he goes down. The flash out to cancel that back half of the animation. Moving in, Coling. We've seen this one be good. Flash forward to try to make it work. Piercing light. Not going to find purchase there, but Vladimir from the backside. My God, Selfie. International man of mystery, not making himself known, is just going to push in and snag that kill. Misfits making moves to get back in the game. They've got this farm lead, and now they've got the gold lead as a whole. A lot of pings
to back away in the top side. Unlimited picked up the blue with just one last auto attack at the end of that, and then Selfie comes in to clean up Vardags at the tail end of that fight. But Wisdom making a real nuisance of himself now in the enemy jungle, as SK and Misfits are going back and forth on this game. Misfits finally have got themselves a bit more of a lead. Dragon is coming up, and we're going to find out what it is. I should have looked at it a little earlier. It's Earth Dragon, Mountain Dragon has spawned. So here's Unlimited. Gets the auto. Got it. Nice. From here, Wisdom looked like it may have been okay for SK and the rest of
and you can see ghosting Selfie.
Just like flash over. Boom.
Hey, we talked about it. Who needs CC when you can just run that fast?
Unfortunately for Selfie, he does need minions to go into the turret, though.
Yeah, it's true.
Otherwise, he would have been going. Like that would have been a dead Braum.
Pushing in deeper. This is one of the hardest drakes, I think the hardest drake to take.
Yes, has, apart from Elder, but Mountain Dragon has extra resistances when it comes to damage. It actually has fairly low damage itself, but it just takes ages to kill. Now, I like they do different things, though. I like that the dragons do different things when it comes to like their actual attacks. Infernal is like the old standard one. Mountain takes longer to kill. I think Earth has like a slow on it, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. And Cloud is, no one wants to talk. Cloud is forever alone. That's its special power.
Yeah.
No one ever wants to prioritize it. Of course, the thing I want to point out here, though, is we're talking about how strong the solution is. You can see it's got that 50 CS advantage, but Ezreal approaching the 750 mark on those tier stacks. You can see building it up.
Approaching from a long way away.
Approaching from a long way away.
He's at 370 right now.
So
he's crested like
exact
the
opposite. I
point.
looked at it and I was like, that's really high. And I totally missed spot for a second. I was like, that's really low. Never mind. This is terrible for Ezreal.
Hey,
he's
look,
down about 300 stacks away from stacking that, and Lucian is already building his next item.
What I'm learning, Sifa, is you're the kind of person that passes the halfway mark in a drive and you're like, yeah, we're nearly there. Yeah, we're nearly there. Don't worry about it.
Full, I swear.
That's good. It's optimism. Pulse the other day was half empty about everything. There was something he was being super pessimistic about. So I'm happy to have Mr. Optimism here.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of a blunder. We'll walk away from that one. But Wisdom is going to have to walk away too. Braum actually blocking out the vast majority of that damage with Unbreakable. But the tower, I don't think they're going to be able to defend this one. Lucian's so far ahead. But Wisdom, he sees Suno. He knows he's in trouble. He's going to just dash over the wall. He waits for someone to commit. He's like, until someone comes to me, I'm not dashing. I'm not going to burn that ability quite yet.
it's the right play, I think, at that point. Just
Hey,
be like, hey,
for wisdom.
I'm gonna see how this goes, see what plays out. So now that Selfie has himself that MR, that health, now he wants damage on top of it. The health AP trade that Vlad has does not stack, so it's not an infinite loop.
Doesn't stack with itself.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't stack with itself. So
TP coming in here.
Cancelled.
Almost immediately. Misfits trying to figure out if they want to fight this. Ruin definitely does. Oh, man. Maybe they should have followed through on that TP. The snap back, too. He's going to grab this kill. Ruin absolutely crushing on this Echo. Dreams is running. Subjugate goes down. He snaps back to try to keep stacking the passive. Concussive blows as well. Spear over the wall just to try to help it out. But SK don't need it. It's going to be 5-2 now, the skill core.
And despite being behind in the AD carry and mid rolls, this game is just, ending up pretty good for SK, regardless of the fact they are still behind. Let's keep in mind Misfits did get the turret from that, but they're taking good fights. The problem is this difference in AD carry and mid is going to kind of ripple effect throughout the game. Selfie's got to be careful here as well. If Vardags doesn't continue to get in fights, continue to get farm, it is going to be a problem that Yuki is so far ahead. So we still are at this tentative point where it's fairly even, but SK, with the lanes as they are kind of back and forth on things right now.
Yeah, it feels like SK are making these smart plays, but they're just not coming out on top in terms of individual lane matchups. And we'll watch another of these plays here. Ruin. You see the TP come in, it's canceled. Poppy doesn't want to go in, and Ruin's just going to crush it out here.
This is Alphari saying, yeah, sorry guys, you're already dead. I'm not really going to TP in on this. And again, it's Ruin that's making the plays for SK. When you look at a fight like this, the fight before, Ruin gets the multi-person stun. In this time, Ruin makes the TP play. Whether it's somebody else calling that shot for him, which it totally possibly could be, we just don't have that insight. But you have to feel that, with reduced communication from having 2 imports from Korea, when it comes to their import slots being full, I mean, SK, they're making it work at least.
Very well, and of course, while that replay was going on, we did see top tower drop to the Echo. Still hasn't quite even the gold out, but 600 gold at this stage of the game, not a major difference. Is Selfie and Wisdom pushing in. Smite, of course, Graves, no hesitation to take that. The nice thing about the manaless mid laner.
Yeah, it is. And on the other side of things, looking at Alphari, he's a guy a lot of people have talked about. Very quiet game so far. Hasn't really had to do anything. And what he has kind of TP'd into either has been just a complete bailout from him as soon as he gets there, or just cancels it.
And I think this is probably really rough for Alphari too, because we know Poppy's not, a wait to late game kind of champion. She really can make a lot of impact in these fights. But remember, Ruin does have that buff coming in, has the glimpse of the void, and it seems like he can just push this lane out so effortlessly. Alphari almost always on the back foot. And
there's a lot of pressure now on Alphari as this game opens up and we're looking towards more skirmishes, more fights. He's part of the engage for Misfits. On a champion that isn't good as being a primary engage tool.
Part of the engage is pretty
the other part is a pillar.
Engage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like 2 little pieces. Good luck getting them to work together. But it's tough. It's tough for him.
And, farm leads, they matter for a lot, but if you can't execute on those advantages, won't mean too much. Selfie, maybe looking to get aggressive, is just going to punch Suno in the face real quick and walk his way on out of that one. And, of course, in the meantime, the bot lane tower has gone down, and SK now building up that 1K. Well, never mind. Here I go. Building up that 500 gold lead. But it is a lead nonetheless, and Ruin now just continuing to be a bully here on the bottom side.
Yeah, and that Azir being on the top side, obviously no TP, so can't really join in any fights, and Ruin doesn't have his available, so there was perhaps a window that Misfits could have looked for a play bottom if Echo had stayed there. Not really having a way out if they'd have brought Alphari down with the TP, but certainly were not in position to make that work for themselves. But for Misfits, looking towards this third dragon of the game.
Yep. And I think SK, do SK have the tools to fight it? You can see Azir almost done with that Rylai's. Ezreal actually this time almost stacked up to the Muramana at about 650 at this stage of the game.
This would be the second mountain dragon in a row. So SK right now have both of the dragons that have been taken. Selfie, got to be careful in this middle lane. Wants to turn though.
Oh, going back. Bardak taking so much damage. Hemoplague to pop. It's not going to be enough. SK actually starting to turn this one around. Alphari on the back half of that Emperor's Divide. Cesar jumps in, no hesitation, jumps right back out. Ruin causing chaos. SK moving forward. They may have overstayed though. Yuki's finally here and he does good damage. SK backing off. They've got a small advantage, and Misfits are looking for a way to re-engage. Low health bars coming in. Wisdom actually dashes forward. Ruin jumps in as well. Dreams stunned up. Ruin taking a lot here. Moving in. Concussive blows coming out. It is an absolute brawl under the tower. End of the day, 1-for-1. Misfits backing off.
Yeah, it's only Selfie that fell, but he did use both of his summoners in that fight. And you got to, when we look at that again, look at where Selfie was in the fight. Perfect place for Vladimir, really. In the middle of all 5 people, getting the channel off on his E, getting, you know, multiple hits of damage down. At this point, hang on, watch for Cesar over the wall. They've stopped this dragon early enough that there's no real easy steal. But
getting frisky.
There's the reset.
I mean, you got to be careful. Cesar doesn't want to go in. We've all watched enough Game of Thrones to know what happens when you 1v1 a mountain.
That is true. It still horrifies me to this day.
Horrific is probably the most apt term. Sorry for spoilers.
I mean, yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
If you're that far
it's a couple of seasons back.
Yeah,
so,
I feel like,
And you didn't say who, so it's fine. Don't worry. It's all good. SK right now, they pretty much just took down that mid tower. Yeah. I was trying to squeeze another Game of Thrones reference in, but nearly spoiled something, so I'm like, I'm bailing out. I'm like, I'm not spoiling Sunday's episode.
Oh, God.
I'm not going
the references are so good, though. I'm waiting.
Just
I'm
back
waiting.
to the game. I'm not spoiling anything.
Nope. All right, we're focused up. We would like to keep our viewership.
Spoilers
this will be a spoiler-free zone. I promise. Yeah. You can keep listening. Ruin, though, you know, getting two members of attention here on the bottom side of the map, and I feel like doing a pretty solid job. He's now moving up as well, and SK very much feels to me like they are in the driver's seat, and now actually going to set up to take down the mountain. 2v1, much easier.
Is a lot easier. The rest of SK are also supporting cast right here. So we didn't actually get a chance to look at that last fight, and it's not critically important again, but one thing I wanted to make note of is that with Selfie being in the middle of the fight, yes, he was able to get a lot of damage down, but without crowd control from Misfits, here's another fight.
TP, this could be the engage. They've got the Poppy. It's the one tool they have to start the fight, but she's just going to have to walk away. SK, you talked about this, the beautiful disengage just comes out immediately.
The disengage, and not only that, is Misfits without crowd control. There's nothing to stop SK from still dealing damage. So regardless of you being in the fight with them, they're still fighting you. It's not like an Alistair headbutt where you hit multiple people and they stop the damage and they just die. In this sense, you're going to have to put damage down while still dealing with the damage that they're offering too. So there's this really weird fight dynamic that we don't normally have out of Misfits, where they're like, well, we want to get in between 5 people, but I've got nothing to shut them down.
So what is the tool? How do Misfits force a fight here? It seems like SK have, pretty much the perfect setup against this composition. They just clear the waves and they just fight on their terms.
Honestly, for Misfits, they have got enough disengage tools when you look at it, or at least things to slow down the fight, stop Selfie from just one-shotting everybody. He is getting stronger and stronger, though, so you do have to be careful of that, Vlad.
Late game Vladimir. Not something we see very often, but still potentially terrifying. Especially with a tanky build like this, not only will he deal good damage, but he'll be nigh unkillable, as the True Shot Barrage is used to clear out the wave. Pressure once again denied on the side of Misfits. And we're moving in, you can see Selfie clearing out, farming up, maintaining that 30 CS lead at this stage of the game. Lucian continuing to grow his, about 50 CS in the lead as well. And once again, Misfits, they're doing so good, but you can see that the gold barely in his favor. That's a massive creep score lead, but the 115 score still balancing it out in the end in the favor, or for the Ezreal.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting when you look at it that the Lucian hasn't quite got Black Cleaver, just finished it as I say that. You see him, the goal ticking down on his scoreboard. That's not exactly the earliest Black Cleaver we've seen. We're 27 minutes in nearly. And this is a Lucian build that typically should have that presence earlier on in the game. We're getting closer and closer to people having a lot of armor items. When you look at this Echo, 3 items, GA, Iceborne, plus Sunfire. Very difficult to chunk through for a Lucian.
Echo versus Vladimir. Hemoplague comes out. Glimpse of the Void is still up, and Selfie's taking a lot of damage. Snap back, looking for the extra healing. That is so much coming in, but Selfie, I don't know if he can survive this one. Ruin is so strong.
He's coming up.
Moving in, dashing forward, he's gonna grab the kill. Ruin with the 1v1.
Yeah, Ruin easily taking down Selfie. Keep in mind, Ruin still had a Guardian Angel. I mean, Selfie has no real itemization against Ruin, just wailing on him. Keep in mind, I believe Ruin got himself that the Glimpse of the Void earlier, so had that empowered attack, had the damage reduction as well, because there was nobody else around him. So that's the exact situation where he wanted to fight Selfie.
And now he's at max stacks for this Darkseal, and we were pretty much joking about Medjai's Soulstealer, and now it's a very real option for him because he's just 3-0-4 his scoreline, and now with all the pressure placed down, he's looking to TP in. He's actually looking to make the flank here. Misfits, have they overstayed? Jumping in, all comes in, is going to hit the Lucian. Not going to find more quite yet. Suno not waiting to commit. 4 stacks on concussive blows mean Dreams is locked down. Dreams dies immediately, but Ruin is knocked out of the fight. Misfits trying to disengage with the culling. Vladimir finally back up, but the support is gone, and SK making moves into the mid lane.
Yeah, SK, they want to push forward once again. Looking at it, we've already got 2 Mountain Drakes and an Ocean Drake, so they can push turrets very quickly. And guess what? Dragon number 4 is going to be, if SK take
Ruin
it.
jumping in, not going to get stunned up, jumps back. Wisdom doing his best to dish out the damage. Unlimited, unbreakable the wrong way, but it just doesn't matter. SK are too strong, and they're going to break this tower open. Suno and Wisdom trading blows, conquering Sands, goes forward, and SK continue to push as Ruin is the fearless frontliner that they needed. Vladimir's backing, Lucian is backing. It means there's no wave clear left other than the Graves. And with Ruin tanking the tower, they are going to be able to break open the inhibitor line. But can Misfits get a fight? Moving forward, Selfie does use the Ghost, is running in, only going to hit one with a Hemoplague, jumps forward, the snapback from Ruin. He's going to get locked down. Guardian Angel comes up, they're going to turn on it. They're going to take the sacrificial land from SK in exchange for that inhibitor tower.
Yeah, they exchange it, and you could see Selfie still had some prominence in that fight. Managed to get himself onto multiple people. SK will back away with 4 people. The Azir turret did slow them down ever so slightly, and Misfits don't really feel like they can take a major objective from this. They're going to hesitate. They went for mid and then backed away for Baron. I think they've still got enough time to take it. Ruin's still down for 30. Nidalee is around though, so this could be a steal. Cesar could look for this.
Selfie healing up the power. The new Vladimir empowered Q moving in. Ultimate going to miss. Cesar maybe looking for the steal. Misfits, this could be the turnaround that they need.
Down.
Can they force a fight in the pit? Suno does so much damage on these group targets, but the Baron is getting lower and lower. They are going to get it. Lucian secures it, but can they win the fight afterwards? They're not done. SK getting burned through. Have they overstayed their welcome? Flash forward from Dreams. Miscommunication, but Selfie is there on the back half. Bardax can't make it out. And SK, they're going to grab the mid laner. They're going to grab the AD carry, the jungler, the Baron, and now they set their sights on mid.
SK could not get the steal on the Baron, and Misfits, even though they were getting chipped down, poked down inside that Baron pit, Misfits end up getting themselves the Baron and turning this game pretty much around. Misfits have gone from being about 4,000 or 5,000 gold behind to having a lead. Now they're pushing down a second turret. And from here, this is where Misfits at least can start controlling the game. They've got the ability to push the towers. They've got the ability to drag SK into fights now, as SK are going to have to scramble somewhat to try and get further objectives. But Misfits are going to take themselves their first dragon of the game. It's going to be a Mountain Dragon, no range for SK.
Not going to be able to grab the 3rd one. Not going to get the opportunity to burn down that Baron. You can see Elder Dragon the next to spawn, and the Baron empowered recalls come out as Misfits walk away, happy with that last play. And we'll look at it once again.
Yeah, here is the play. So, getting dropped very low. At what point does Cesar go in here? Because it is a 4 versus 5, but look at the low health bars. Cesar tries to jump in so close to getting the steal, because it was the Lucian that actually was the one that got the killing blow on the Baron. Bardax here, little bit of a faux pas. I don't think he had his E up, so didn't really throw out damage. Couldn't get himself away, so ends up just kind of standing there and dying.
The party foul from the Ezreal. Of course, I gotta say, I mean, I really liked Alfari. We've been kind of saying he hasn't been able to do anything, but in that play, we saw him just waiting. He's like, if the Nidalee jumps forward, I will smack her into this wall, and that is exactly what he did.
Exactly, and that was the key thing, is Cesar was trying to go in, trying to bypass the Poppy. Very difficult there as well because of the steadfast presence, so you've always got to be careful of when you do time that jump. So Cesar knew it was going to be a one-way trip if he did end up going in. Just a little kind of late on the timing, but Alfari was blocking him too.
Yep. So works out for Misfits in the end. Now moving down to the bottom side of the map. They're applying the pressure. SK are here to respond. You can see gold lead in their favor, about 3K now. They've gotten the Baron empowered minions, but the wave clear is still very much here from the side of SK.
Yeah, SK clear it out. Top side, though, they've got to be careful. Selfie, no TP, so Misfits have no real options when it comes to collapsing if they were looking for a dive here. I don't think they'd want to into the likes of a Braum, the Azir. You don't really want to dive under the turret at that situation. They're just buying time for Selfie to push the tower. Parallel Convergence comes out. We've seen this 1v1 before. Wonder whether it'll go any different with a couple of levels more and items under Selfie. Has a Void Staff now.
Yep, good place to be to help fight that Echo in these split push scenarios. But Alfari goes in. Azir goes up, but the missed timing comes out as well. Misfits going to set their sights in the tower. Alfari burning down. Italy going to get the execute knocked back into the wall, but it's not enough. Suno looks for the disengage, but Misfits managed to grab two. And while top laner and mid laner duel, it looks like the rest of the team is going to have to back off this inhibitor tower. Ruin running for backup. But
it's Selfie that comes out ahead in this 1v1 now, and it looked like he came out ahead perhaps because Ruin tried to TP and had to cancel when Selfie got in his face. I believe that's what happened because of Ruin's TP being on cooldown. Of course, Vlad not having any way of actually cancelling the TP, so it would have had to have been a manual cancel from Ruin himself. At that point, Misfits, they went a bit over-aggressive in the bottom lane when you take into account Alfari went in when the rest of his team was taking the turret. So a little bit of a miscommunication between the two, but it comes out ahead for them because of what Selfie could do in the top side and the fact that they got a couple in the bottom lane.
Yeah, works out well overall, breaking down the last of those inner towers. Now all that's left is to break open that inhibitor line. They have an open inhibitor themselves too. And we'll look at the fight one more time. Alfari going deep.
Yeah, this was Alfari going in. Says is like, I'm going to just take you out from here. I don't care what the rest of the team's doing, what's happening there. And Cesar actually managed to get out of that. Ran up and out through the fight, so it was only the one kill went down as we took a look up at the top side.
The 1-for-1 trade and the double towers going over Misfits. Overall, still a very big win for the team, but now Baron's out. This is the moment, this is the time where SK once again feel like they have control, and despite the gold deficit, I mean, still very near impossible to get on top of this Azir and Ezreal.
Yeah, as we open this game further towards the base of SK, Misfits have completely turned it around. That the Baron play after the fight in the mid lane has really, really tipped this game on its head. SK were looking so good. They'd got themselves a decent lead. They had this composition that was good at disengaging fights, and then they just find one fight that they can't disengage away from Misfits, and Misfits managed to clean it up.
That's all it takes. One mistake, you get this far in the game, 35 minutes. Things can shift pretty quickly. Elder Dragon on the way, as is Baron. About 2 minutes out apiece. So, doubt we're going to see a trade of objectives, but two huge points of contention as we move forward. And Wisdom and the rest of the team, rather, still feeling confident to apply pressure.
And now that Misfits have picked up a bunch of kills on top of the CS leads that they have, now we're starting to see the goal differences open up between the carries. AD carry and mid lane on the side of SK, multiple thousands down compared to Misfits right now. And, you know, that starts to open up a fairly big,
item differential. It's almost a whole item at this stage of the game, which is massive. I mean, you can see it on the Lucian, the extra... essentially the extra Hex Drinker, or the BF Sword, depending on how you want to look at it. And that's a massive difference in damage in these fights.
Yeah, it is a significant difference. And then mid lane as well, Selfie just picked himself up a death cap. He's like, ooh, my AP turns into health, eh?
My health turns into AP, and my AP now turns into more AP.
Yeah, exactly. Multiply everything. Selfie's trying to min-max in this.
He's got it. Clearly,
wow, that's a lot of health he's got.
Yeah. Good setup for the Vladimir at this stage of the game. Once again, late game Vladimir, a relatively unknown element, but look pretty nice.
3,600 health on that Vlad.
Maybe Warmox.
Ooh, that would be kind of disgusting.
Yeah, extra cooldown reduction, of course, as everything has cooldown reduction now.
I still don't know why.
Probably because they're, you know, it's just like, how long have only cooldown reduction items been good? Frozen Gauntlet, Morellonomicon.
I just feel like there are some items that maybe didn't need it. I don't really feel like Zhonya's needed it, but...
Abyssal. Maybe we're just like crotchety old men at this stage. So we're like, I don't want things to change. I want to go back when I built boots 3 pots on my Lee Sin jungle or my Maokai jungle.
Selfies, that is a big size difference between the Elder Drake and Vlad right here.
This is kind of giant
also,
in general.
Nosferatu Vlad is actually like one of the smallest proportion champions when you look at it, like for a regular size, non-yodel.
He's got Trump
very
hands.
thin. He's got Trump hands. Careful.
Yeah, I
you
know,
might
that
get
one's
a litigation
dangerous.
suit coming up for you.
Not what I need to start my casting career. Misfits, though, looking pretty confident as they start up the Elder Dragon. SK, though, they're here. Suno moving in, he's just behind the team, but the vision is down in that brush. Selfie flash forward, getting aggressive. Pool comes out, TP coming in from Ruin, but Wisdom and Dreams focusing down the Dragon. If they can get the true damage buff before this site starts, Unlimited actually burned through as well. Ruin looking for the stun, he's not going to get it. Great moves coming in from Alfari. Are they going to be able to secure the Dragon? It continues to drop lower. Knocked out of the fight as Selfie, hungry for blood. They're going to get the fight too. Suno, health bar rip through. Selfie, he's got the ghost ticking. You can see the fight continue. Alfari, he's not going to let anyone else get away from him. Ezreal trying to make it to safety. Ruin knocked in. Parallel convergence, not enough. And Misfits get absolutely everything in that exchange.
And Misfits have been picking fights that SK cannot afford to avoid, and that is what is making this composition actually end up working for them. SK knew they had to fight around the Elder Dragon, but did not really commit to the fight until Misfits had already got that Elder Drake, and from there Selfie was able to get a good Hemoplague down on multiple people. I believe it hit Vardax and Suno in that fight, and was able to just continue to move forward, and is such an imposing threat in this late game.
And while Cesar takes the Gromp, Misfits are going to take the Baron. They doubled down on that first Mountain Drake that they got with the Elder Dragon, making it that much easier. Once again, the empowered recalls, the map resets. But SK have to be hurting after that one, and this is really their last chance to come back.
So this was the Dragon take. You can see SK choose not to fight still. They're looking for any kind of pick here, looking for anything that can engage. And Selfie hasn't popped his ult yet, looking further into this fight, waiting for SK to come down. And it's at this point that Misfits know they're close enough. Selfie hits both of his summoners and runs himself into the back line. Manages to get the good damage down onto Suno, force them out of the fight. And from there, it doesn't matter that they didn't actually kill the Ezreal and the Azir. There's no damage to come out from anywhere. And from that, Misfits win the fight.
Absolutely crushing exchange. We've seen how much they could do with their previous Baron. Now they have both of the strongest buffs in the game. Don't know if they want to go for the tower dive, but they have the 10k gold lead, and they do not, you don't really get any stronger than this relative to the opposition.
Dragon, Elder Dragon plus Baron buff in this setup.
Alfari maybe look for the disengage, just wants to get the tower. Is he going to send Braum out of there? No Unbreakable to block out the damage coming in from Lucian. They're going to grab their first tower. Sights set on that next inhibitor, and this is pretty easy for Misfits. They're simply too far ahead. You can see Lucian finishing up the Infinity Edge. Has the Hex Drinker. This man does insane damage.
He's getting a little bit of subsidized crit as well from Dreams, who has the Zeke's Harbinger. So has that on him. Is stacking that one up, so accounting for some of the missing crit that you would normally attribute to this build that Lucian has. Not an item we see all that often, but in this situation makes a whole lot of sense.
Definitely does. On the opposite side, Mortal Reminder comes out for the Ezreal. He may be behind, but he can reduce a lot of the healing coming in from Selfie. Such a core part of Vladimir's kit. Lucian runs forward to try to call something and someone, and it's just going to get a Sand Soldier to the face. SK may be down. They're still strong. Those carries still can't afford to run in face first, and Wisdom starting to apply the split pressure. Empowered super minions in the middle lane. This is going to demand some attention from SK.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what attention they can afford to give it right now. The Ezreal, not exactly king of clearing that out. Now you've got an Azir and an Echo, who Echo wants to clear it with his Q, but it's only the range ones that end up falling, so it's just going to be so difficult here.
Once again, the Poppycopter comes out, not going to find anyone, but Selfie is zoning on the front line. They jump in onto him. He uses the pool, but the Hemoplague still goes down. Ruin trying to get something back, but the Graves is just ripping through the health bar. Wisdom, will he go down to Vardax? He will, but at the end of the day, he loses so much health in exchange. Next tower could be down. That's 2 inhibitors in the favor of Misfits, and they're just going to walk away from this one happy with what they got.
Yeah, they could look to swing out through the bottom jungle, just ward it up and look for the second push, or at least the last push you would imagine. I mean, for SK, they cannot avoid these fights anymore. Every time Misfits are fighting them. It's over a critical objective, and it just means that Selfie is able to pop both summoners, run through the fight. I mean, those cooldown boots have worked wonders for him in this game. He has had so many more chances to get into the fight and run his way through with the damage. We'll take another look at it. As this was the push onto the top side tower. I mean, Unlimited trying his best to duel against Wisdom off at the side, and Selfie, even though he's chunked, look at that healing you just got back. Look at it.
It's just honestly just insane.
From the ult, like the multiple person
look
hit.
at Tides of Blood, my god, the damage.
Yep, from everything. It's kind of insane.
And that's the thing, is that you have to think, if Vardags or Suno had stayed in that fight for 1 or 2 seconds more, Vladimir would have killed both of them, and this game would be over. And that would be it.
Yeah, that would
just barely do SK manage to hold down. I mean, it's rough road here coming in for SK. You can see Selfie fearlessly pushing in. The gold lead, 11K in the favor of Misfits. They may not have the Baron buff or the Dragon buff anymore, but that gold lead not going to disappear after a couple minutes, and still incredibly difficult for SK to play this one out.
Yeah, and the thing is, there's not going to be too many distractions for Misfits right now, apart from that bottom lane tower. No sign of Baron coming up anytime soon, another couple of minutes before that's up. And Elder Drake, by the way, doesn't spawn very often at all, only every 10 minutes, so that's another tower going down.
Well, I don't think Misfits are going to need 10 minutes. They're setting their sights on the final inhibitor, and SK, this is the last stand for them. They're going to throw up the extra tower. Sun Disc from Azir. Just a brief reprieve, though. Graves pushing in the mid lane, making sure those super minions are going to hit home, and Echo doing his best to scrap out here, but no real damage in the kit quite yet. You can see the Zanya's pickup. For a little extra. Oh, there's the engage. Selfie wants to flash in. 3-man Hemoplague moving forward, getting extra damage now, but they're just going to move away. They set their sight, 7-second hitter. In Wisdom, he just does too much damage, zoning out so many members of the team. Ruin's trying to make the plays in the backside. Selfie passing off the turret aggro. Doesn't want to pick that one up. Oh my god, Alfari knocks him into the wall. A little revenge for that laning phase. Echo flashing to safety. They're going to take down the last inhibitor, and they're setting their sights on the Nexus tower, but only Vardags has dropped. Moving in. Misfits are so strong. Wisdom taking a lot of damage. Ruin dishing out so much of his own, but Unlimited drops. The Nexus looks poised to drop as well. And while members are trading blows, Poppy is just punching the Nexus, and it's starting to drop. SK, they played so strong in the early game, but Misfits are going to grab the win.
Oh, Misfits turn the game around off the fight in mid, get the Baron steal, pick up the Elder Dragon, and force fights that SK just couldn't get away from. And I mean, for SK, that's got to be a tough loss after how it started. For Misfits, got to be a sigh of relief now, being able to put themselves one step further to being out of Group A in, you know, one of those slots looking for the playoffs.
Misfits picking up their third win, and once again, we were skeptical at the start of these drafting issues, and I was wondering if this was a drafting issue, this lack of CC, but Misfits play around it. They outplay SK right when it counts to get the Elder Dragon into the Baron. They take that lead, and they just continue to apply that pressure, and it worked out so well for them in the end. The confidence to take that Baron play earlier in the game, that first Baron, where they had members in the pit risking so much, where Azir was just dishing out damage, and they're like, we have the health, we can take this, we know we can do it, and that kind of confidence is great to see from this lineup.
It is, and you know, the block from Alfari just being like, I can stop him getting in, all you got to do is take the Baron. So good play from Misfits in general. I still think there are areas in the early game perhaps that they needed to work on ever so slightly. They did get a laning advantage when you look at it. SK were taking the skirmishes very well up on the top side. The early TPs from Alfari were a little rough because he TP'd in and was like, ooh, I actually can't do anything here. I need to run myself away. But they did kind of smash mid and bot when it came to who was getting farm, and it didn't rear its head until the first couple of kills for Misfits came out, but then it did
rear its head. Pretty, I mean, that game was insane in terms of farm differences. And Selfie, I mean, it looked like he was losing every trade in the mid lane, and then every time we looked back, he was another 10 CS up.
So it's because he was trading his health for the CS and forcing Suno not to farm. So at the same time, that's one of the things that you can afford with a champion like Vlad, as long as you're safe in the mid lane, as long as you know you're not going to get ganked. It's a risky strategy because if you're half health and the jungler walks in and you get crowd controlled, it's like, oh, I'm dead. But certainly in that, he just didn't get punished.
Yeah. And overall, I mean, you really have to be ready to punish those opportunities. And I think, really, I think the game just felt I felt so convinced that SK were going to win watching those early team fights.
Same, honestly.
And then it was just, and because they had no reason to jump back in. Misfits like couldn't get on their back line. Ezreal and Azir were just dishing out so much damage, and then in just what felt like a blur, Misfits just turned this around.
And Ruin did a good job in the early game where Alphari was having trouble with the TPs. Ruin was doing very well. TP'd up to the top side, got the double person stun, had another skirmish around the jungle where he got into the mix, and even 1v1 selfie out that one time in the bottom side. So Ruin still looked very strong. Just for SK, Suno on Azir couldn't deal damage in the late game. He just didn't have enough damage to get through the Vlad healing himself up, through the tanks, through everything that Misfits had.
Yeah, how do you, I thought with an Echo that fed, it's like, how do you even come back? And then Alphari played with the team, made it work, and Ruin crushed everyone for so long. But at the end of the day, it's just, he doesn't have enough damage to fight everybody, right?
Yeah, and especially when you look at the fact that they took multiple dragons early, like they had the first 3 dragons of the game, plus they got the Rift Herald onto the Echo as well. So you look at how that really should have worked. The later the game goes with an Azir and an Ezreal, it's like, wow, these picks should be doing well in the late game. Unfortunately, though, Misfits got so much off that turnaround. It was like Baron into like mid lane turrets, into bot lane turrets.
Yeah, it was like Baron into every outer tower. And Baron into every inner tower, and then like back off. All right. And then it was win the fight at Elder Dragon.
Yeah.
Elder Dragon, Baron, win the game. And that was pretty insane to watch. But of course, we're going to head over to a brief break. I wrote something ridiculous, but I'm not going to read it. So we're going to go to a brief break. Don't touch the browser. We'll be right back. We'll see you guys in just a few minutes.